Psychiatrist points out Meg's psychogenic symptom is dangerous to the society, locked her up in madhouse. Spiked Online's Brendan O'Neill says Prince Harry needs to have a serious word with himself about his marriage to Meghan Markle. In an exclusive interview with The Cut, Ms. Markle discussed her life with Prince Harry and their children, and their strained relationship with his family. "It is narcissistic, it is deranged," Mr. O'Neill said of the interview. Meghan Markle comes off as increasingly mad. In case you have been inhabiting an underwater cavern, Meghan just gave an interview to New York magazine's The Cut in which she claimed that, at a 2019 London premiere of The Lion King, she had been likened to Nelson Mandela. She told the reporter, Alison P. Davis, that a cast member from South Africa had pulled her aside. "He looked at me, and he's just like light. He said, 'I just need you to know, when you married into this family, we rejoiced in the streets the same we did when Mandela was freed from prison.'" It was an absurdly self-serving story to tell, even if Davis added, "Of course, she knows she's no Mandela." Subsequently, the only South African cast member for The Lion King said he had never met Meghan, and had not attended that premiere. The hashtag Meghan Markle Salia followed. Can she really be so insulated against the plight of ordinary people that she doesn't think she's coming across as phenomenally out of touch and self-obsessed? Dr. Max Pemberton reveals what he believes is the real reason Meghan plays the victim. Poor Meghan. That's what we're supposed to say, isn't it? Back in the UK this week, one wonders which sympathy card she'll play next. After all, every interview she gives centers on the woe is me mantra. Clutch your ethically sourced pearls and reach for the tissues while she sits in her multi-million-pound house, surrounded by staff and security. How does she get through the day? Can she really be so insulated against the plight of ordinary people that she doesn't think she's coming across as phenomenally out of touch and self-obsessed? So why is Meghan constantly looking back at how awful it was to briefly be a royal, as one source who knows the Sussexes was quoted as saying this weekend? With Meghan, I think there's something profound going on here, something I've seen with some of my patients. A few years ago I worked for a charity, and in order to fund this I worked a few days a week in a private clinic. Many of my patients were eye-wateringly wealthy, with some even flying in on their private jets just for the appointment. They had a life of unparalleled privilege. Yet as I talked to them, there were some who seemed to feel maligned and injured, slighted and upset. They were extraordinarily sensitive and at pains to paint themselves as the victim at nearly every opportunity they had. It was quite bizarre and in sharp contrast to the poor, disenfranchised patients I saw at the charity, who seemed to just accept their lot, do the best they could and get on with things. It took a while for me to realize that it was precisely their privilege and the pressure that this brought that made those wealthy patients so quick to play the victim card. They had great privilege, but, unless they also achieved great things, they would always be seen as a failure. Perversely, their privilege was like a millstone round their neck. They had a toxic, noxious combination of self-entitlement and overinflated self-esteem that resulted in a bitterness and bewilderment that not everything always went their way. It meant they always had a ready-made excuse for why things were going wrong, or hadn't worked out how they wanted. It was always someone else's fault, there was always someone else to blame. But getting some perspective on things and realizing this is part of life's tapestry is a key skill. I find it truly astonishing that someone as apparently bright and intelligent as Meghan seems to struggle to grasp this and, therefore, comes across as increasingly tone-deaf. The Duchess of Sussex wants us to think that she's the victim of all sorts of injustice that she's gallantly battling against, when I'm afraid it just comes across as a self-indulgent, out-of-touch whinge. There's been a trend recently of celebrities starting up wellness companies. It began with Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop. Kate Moss is the latest with Cosmos.